Now, Mark Stevens, author of Government Indicted, my website, markstevens.net. The radio show is called The No State Project, live every Saturday from 4 to 7 Eastern Standard Time on the Liberty Radio Network. And 3 hours of Annika Radio is what we do and help people defend themselves when attacked by predators called government. And so what I want to do is give the facts, give the backstory. So I don't think that all the bigger picture about what is happening with the attack against Adam Kokesh up here in Arizona. I don't think that that's been fleshed out, so that everyone has a better understanding. That's what we're going to, So just a short video to go through that. So what Adam did was buy some property. It just happens to be located physically in what's called Yavapai County, Arizona. Now, think of Yavapai County as no different than a Catholic parish or diocese where some officials with the church put some lines on a map and say, that's going to be the Yavapai diocese or parish. It doesn't mean that if your property was within that parish that you're suddenly a member of the Catholic Church. You're physically in the lines on the map, but you're not in the church. And it's the same thing with this figment of imagination called Yavapai County, which is just a figment of the legal imagination. So he bought the property outright and decided, hey, this is my property. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm going to make some improvements on here. And that's when things caught the attention of a guy named David Williams, who works for Yavapai County Zoning Department. I guess building and improvement. And he didn't like that Adam was not asking for permission. This really torqued him something awful, and he decided he was going to complain to Adam about that. So I had gotten in touch. Someone got me in touch with Adam and decided to see what we could do about helping with this attack. So we spoke to David Williams on the 26th of April of this year, 2016, and I asked him, like I always do on the Call to Shames, which you can hear many of them at markstevens.net, and I asked him if he was operating under the presumption that just because Adam and his property were physically in Arizona, that his constitution and laws applied and he would have jurisdiction to actually require Adam to do these things, that there was somehow a real-world obligation for Adam to get a permit. And he agreed that, yes, physically in Arizona, laws apply. That was it. So I asked him again the standard question, do you have any actual proof that that's true? Can you actually prove with relevant facts that just because he's physically in Arizona, your Constitution applies to him? Well, of course, he had no evidence, admittedly so, but he got kind of agitated. And this is where, his dishonesty really comes out, because he's been publicly stating or telling people who have called that Adam requested a hearing. Well, when confronted with his lack of evidence, what the typical authoritarian will do is, instead of backing off and gathering your evidence, and if you can't, just dropping it, which is what a normal person does, no, the authoritarian, the crook or a criminal who does business as a government, like David Williams, instead of doing the right thing and backing off, he escalated. So what he started to do was he got very angry and gave Adam a false choice. And that false choice was, do you want an admin proceeding, an admin hearing, or do you want me to go straight to criminal prosecution? A normal professional adult acting in good faith, which of course is not a government official, would have said, do you want me to further investigate this? Actually, they wouldn't have even have done that. A normal, rational adult would have said, you know what? I can't prove this. I'm sorry to have bothered you. I'm going to do some more investigation, and I'm not going to bother you unless I have evidence and jurisdiction to do so. No, what David Williams did was make a false choice. Do you want me to go to an admin hearing, or do you want a criminal prosecution? Now, I said to him, that's like asking Adam if he wants you to break his arm or his leg. So David got all upset, didn't understand the analogy, and stated that he wasn't threatening to break anybody's arm or leg. I said, it's an analogy. Gosh, it's just an analogy, David. Get it? I'm just demonstrating you're giving him a false choice, because either way, you want to hurt him. You're escalating the matter. So it's really disingenuous for him to say that Adam chose that. Give the full backstory. You gave him a false choice. So he wasn't going to back down. Adam freely chose that he not escalate. That's what we were saying. No, we would prefer you don't escalate this. But if you are so hardcore to attack me, and then I'm going to have to take the lesser of the two evils. We've heard that before. So he has filed a motion to quash and dismiss the complaint based on lack of evidence and jurisdiction and extreme bad faith. So what he's doing is he's accusing Adam of some 10 code violations. He's not accusing Adam of hurting anybody, but code violations. To make it perfectly clear, David Williams is the aggressor here. He is absolutely the one violating the non-aggression principle. He is aggressing, and he is the one threatening Adam. Adam just wants to be left the hell alone. Either show the jurisdiction or leave me alone. So I got in touch with the what's his name? Jack Smith. He is the chairman of the Board of Supervisors in Yavapai County. I figured I'd go right to the chairman. He's probably going to have a little more influence, so I go to I went to him. Now, he was a lot more professional than David Williams, and he did also agree that if the property and Adam are physically in Arizona, the Constitution and laws apply, and that is the basis of their jurisdiction. That's what is supposedly creating these obligations to get these permits. So I got a quite different response from him. He was pretty jovial about it. Maybe it was a nervous laugh, but when I asked him for proof of his claim that the Constitution applied to Adam because he was physically in Arizona, he stated it's way above my pay grade. Admittedly, not qualified to determine that the Constitution laws apply to Adam. In other words, he's not qualified to determine that Adam is required to get these permits. So he did say that he would speak with Williams and that he would make sure that the matter would not escalate unless there was evidence to support the claim of jurisdiction. I thought that was pretty good. In the meantime, I contacted every member of the Board of Supervisors to let them know what was happening. None of them took the time to respond to me, no matter how many times I emailed, once or twice a week, never got a response. Jack Smith, the supervisor, was the only one to contact me again, and his response was only to tell me that he was not going to do anything. He was just going to sit by idly, and instead I had to contact Craig Brown, who is the District 4 supervisor. I thought that was just kicking the can and asked him to reconsider, and he didn't. He just backed out completely, and I never heard from him again. I did contact Craig Brown numerous times by phone, and he never responded. I responded by phone, by email. He never responded. So the entire Board of Supervisors knows what is happening to Adam. And they know, and I've told them that the chairman and David Williams admittedly don't have a shred of evidence to prove their claim that there's jurisdiction over Adam. I also spoke with Jack Fields on April 29th. He is the county attorney up in Yavapai County. Not the elected county attorney, but he was one I spoke to. He does represent and defend the county. And when I asked him for proof, even though he agreed that yes, with the argument that if Adam is physically in Arizona, the laws apply to him, when I asked him for proof of that claim, all he could offer were political platitudes such as jurisdiction is a principle of sovereignty, which is just, that's saying that is not evidence. It doesn't connect the Constitution to Adam in any way. So everyone knows that the county attorney and the county board of supervisors and David Williams are completely unable to get any evidence against Adam as far as jurisdiction and that these rules apply to him. But they are doing nothing. All they did was escalate the matter anyway. So Adam did get a notice of hearing date that they filed 10, David Williams, presumably David Williams, is accusing Adam of 10 code violations, not accusing Adam of any aggression, because let's be perfectly clear again, Adam's not the aggressor here. Adam is the one under attack. They're not accusing him of any violence or any threat of violence. So that is really what's going on. Now, there will be arguments made or claims made that you don't have to prove that the Constitution applies. Well, rational people will say that that's complete nonsense. It is irrational to turn around and say that a written instrument or rules apply to somebody and no evidence is required to do that, especially when you're using aggression. If you can't prove your claim and you proceed anyway, you're a criminal. And you can call yourself the government. It doesn't change it. You're still men and women. And I had brought up to Jack Fields, if I was to do things like your organization and I forced everybody in a community, perfect strangers, to give me money, wouldn't you consider me a criminal? He refused to answer the question. And he did say he's not going to answer any question that's going to put his client in a bad light. Well, no kidding. But my gosh, if you know that that's what they're doing and you know that they're attacking Adam and they have no evidence, why not stop in and stop it from escalating? Why just sit idly by? I tell you. And in the lie saying Adam chose the hearing. No. That is a lie by omission. Give the whole story, David. So, and the last point to make in this ridiculous notion that you don't have to prove your claim is that, like I said many, many times before, first of all, if you do it as an attorney, you're violating the rules of ethics. You're bringing a claim that has no factual basis. Rule 3.1 is generally what you'll see in the ethical rules that show that. It's prosecutorial misconduct because you're arguing without evidence. Another part of that is that irrefutable presumptions, even under the government's own rules, the United States Supreme Court has held, and I know, I'll quote Vlandis versus Klein, they were dealing with legislative presumptions and saying that legislative presumptions that create an irrefutable or irrebuttable claim or presumption, violate due process. And that's just grossly unfair. If there's an irrefutable presumption or claim or argument being made, you cannot challenge it. That is evidence of a rigged game. And what is the basis to say that is irrefutable? Just David Williams makes a claim and it's irrefutable? Why? Because some other bureaucrat said so? It's complete nonsense. It is criminal. It is dishonest. So again, their own rules, irrefutable or irrebuttable presumptions, violate due process. It's unfair because you don't have the opportunity to challenge it. And how much easier is it to prove that somebody is violating a rule when you don't even have to prove that rule applies? And you could just say it applies and there's no challenge to it. That it's just grossly unfair. But if you think that it's somehow fair and ethical, moral, call the show. Present your argument. I love to hear that, oh, yeah, I can just make a claim and you have to accept it as true. And if you don't, I'm going to just throw your ass in jail. Or if you think that there is actually evidence proving the Constitution and laws apply, call the show. We have an open forum there for that. So that's the backstory. Basically, Adam has got some property in Arizona. He's making improvements on it without asking for permission. David Williams thinks that this is abhorrent behavior and has decided to attack him, claiming that these rules apply to him. David admittedly doesn't have a shred of evidence to prove these rules apply to him. The County Board of Supervisors, including the chairman, Jack Smith, who was personally involved with this, are just sitting idly by and allowed it to escalate without doing anything to confront David Williams and to do the right thing. The right thing being have evidence to support your claim before you go after somebody. I mean, that's not a radical thing. Have evidence, support your claim. Don't believe in some magic thing that your rules apply just because you said so. Again, but if you think you can do what these David Williams and those attacking Adam could not do, and that is prove that a written instrument from 1910 applies to Adam today just because he's physically in Arizona, please call the show. Do a live broadcast. And for those who like the few that say that they won't do a live broadcast with me because I control everything, one, that's complete nonsense. I've never cut someone off the show unless they were using profanity. And if you want, we'll set up a live broadcast on another show, and I'll do it. In fact, you don't even have to do a live broadcast. Just post your own video. Post an article and present the evidence because I'd love to see it. I'm not going to hold my breath, though. But my name is Marc Stevens. The website is marcstevens.net.